Welcome to Power Your Profits podcast, your friendly guide in bringing your business revenue to the next level. Listen as host Susie Carder hears inspiring stories of success from her fellow entrepreneurs and transformational leaders. Prepare to make significant change to your strategies as they unravel the secrets of building multi-million-dollar businesses and the most effective tips on finance, marketing, and sales accountability. If you want to make your first step towards explosive business growth, this is the right podcast for you. Without further ado, here is your host, Susie.
Welcome to Power Your Profit podcast. I am your host, Susie Carder, and I want to welcome you to this episode. Today, I have the founder of The Conscious Millionaire, the world's #1 authority on limitless mindset. And he's a speaker, a futurist, a coach, an investor. JV is a 34-time #1 best-selling author and creator of the Mindset to Millions event. He hosts Conscious Millionaire Show for entrepreneurs who want to get rich, changing the world. In its 8th season, the podcast is heard by millions in over 190 countries. Please help me welcome JV Crum III. Oh my gosh, JV, thank you for being here. I am so excited to share you with our tribe, share you with our community. So everybody knows, besides that sexy godlike introduction, let's talk about what your magic is and what your business is doing right now.
Yeah. So first of all, I am so excited to be here because my pitter pat is working with mission-driven entrepreneurs. Yes. That's what we do at Conscious Millionaire, and it's exciting to be here. And my focus is helping you achieve a limitless mindset so that you can get a limitless impact with your business, make limitless money, and live a limitless life. That is my entire focus. And you put that together, now you really can go someplace, because if you just focus on the external, the strategy and the execution, those are important. But I've discovered from working with so many clients in my own journey and then my friends' journey, and I've just observed over time what really made the difference. And it's the mindset up leveling. And so I've created 7 money mindsets, and that's what I teach. And I go back to when I was 5, Susie, growing up in a poor family in a poor little town of 200 to 300 people. And my mother would lecture me before I didn't have any brothers or sisters, so I got drugged to the grocery store. But before we went in at 5, she'd give me a little lecture, and she'd say, and I went by James. She'd say, "Now, James, don't ask for the candy bar." And she would explain it to me. That it was very strange. My parents talked to me like I was an adult. Yeah, they never talked to me like I was a child. So she would explain, "We don't have any money, and I don't want people to think we're broke, so don't ask for it." Right?
That was mine. We have none, don't ask for any, go make your own.
Yeah. So one day I said, well, what's the answer to this problem? I mean, I ended up becoming a millionaire because I was solving a problem of how to get a candy bar. Yeah. And I realized, I know, because on television, all the millionaires had nice homes and they had chauffeurs. And I said to myself, and probably very correctly, they can afford candy bars. Yes. So on that premise, I declared to the world that I was going to grow up and be a millionaire, and ran into the house and told my parents. And my mother shook her finger at me again, and she says, "Don't you tell anybody." So of course, being a good little boy, I went around, I knocked on all the doors, and I declared to the entire community that I would be growing up to be a millionaire, which of course, I'm sure they just rolled their eyes. Yes. And thought, well, isn't that cute? He's such a cute little boy. And but from that moment forward, my mindset had shifted, because I started to realize, wait a minute, there is more abundance in the world than the way we're living, because I see it on TV. Right. Must be true. Those people have nice homes and they're like getting on planes and everything, And then I said, well, I can become a millionaire. I started shifting my identity. And then I realized, by golly, it's possible to make that kind of money. And I am certain at the age of 5, growing up in little Ocklawaha, Florida, I had no clue what $1 million was.
Right.
I just knew it was a lot more money than we had. And I was getting my candy bar. And by the way, I'd already decided I was going to get a big, nice house as well. Like I was beginning to add this stuff up. Wait, I'm sure $1 million buy a nice house. I'm sure to buy a nice car, all that stuff. And that was when I started shifting my mindset. And when I look back on everything that I've ever trained, that I realized from the beginning, I myself am a product of creating a more limitless mindset constantly. And that's what I do with my clients. And that's what I love to do today.
Well, isn't it amazing? There's a statistic that says 80% of our emotional programming is done by the time we're 8. And
No,
so you just reiterate that by 5. I did the same thing. I'm like, I don't want to live like this. I want to live like that. Right. I
right.
didn't know what that was. I didn't know how to get that, but I knew it wasn't this. Right.
Right.
And
No, exactly.
you also have
Exactly.
strategies, right? So you use NLP. And so those, most of us are familiar, which is the neuro logistic programming. So what NLP strategies do you use to make those millions?
Yeah. So I would say from NLP, and I have 9 years of training with all of the original people. Uh, the power of reframing
Mm-hmm.
is so strong because I have 7 money mindsets. But if you listen to what I just said about my story as a little boy, I was reframing possibility. I was reframing, well, we don't have much, but there's much more abundance and I can get it.
Yes.
Right. I am not stuck in Oklawaha.
Yes.
Right. I reframe because I still know people that grew up there and have never moved more than 5 miles away. Right. They got the programming and they stayed in that programming well, we lived across the street from the church. So when my mother shook her fingers at me, I had no idea why. And I was writing my first book and my editor, I wrote it in the book, right? And I said, my mom shook her fingers at me. She goes, JV, you got to explain that. And I said, well, I have no idea why she did it, actually. I had to sit down and think about it. And I realized we lived across the street from the church.
Mm-hmm.
We went to the church 3 times a week, not once. And my mother what was preached was that poor people are good and rich people, are thieves, basically.
Yeah.
Right. And so she genuinely believed, which explained why we never had any money from her side, that people who got rich. And the reason I'm saying this today is I've encountered so many people that got that programming one way or another. They got it from the church, they got it from their parents, they got it from society, that good people are poor. And that actually makes you more authentic.
Yes.
Which all it does is just makes you poor.
Right.
Doesn't make you're no more authentic at all. In fact, you're less authentic because you're not living your purpose and you're not playing in a big way.
And you're
right?
mad and you're frustrated.
And you're mad, right? You're not being who you really are. And so that's why she told me that was she didn't want her son to grow up to be a criminal. Because in her mind, that was the only way you'd get that kind of money. That's correct. Yes.
That's
and so once I figured that out, I said, now I do a lot of work with people, on their money piece. And one of the questions I have them answer is, how did your mother treat money? And how did your father treat money? And lo and behold, the lights go off over and over and over again. I go, and they realize for all their downplaying of their parents, because that's normal, right? Is, oh my God, I'm living my parents' life.
Yes.
Right. And then you realize you can make some new choices and you can reprogram your mind.
Well, I think it's that unconsciousness, right? It's not conscious.
Right.
We're not trying to live our parents' life. Like,
no.
I noticed it being a parent, what would fly out of my mouth. And I'm like, oh, I hear my mother, I hear my father. And you would say, I'm not going to raise my children that way, but it's flying out of your mouth if you're not conscious of it, right?
And you and I work with similar people. I work with 6 that want to get to 7. I work with 7 that want to get to 8. And lo and behold, they're building businesses. And yet they don't realize they're using the money mindset of a 5-year-old.
Yes.
Because they've never unprogrammed it. And so they keep hitting the same ceilings.
Right.
They keep moving slowly. When I tell everybody, if you're not doubling every year and you're a 6 or 7-figure business, you're not growing at the right rate. You need to at least be doubling every year. And they're going, oh, well, I'll get 10% more this year. I go, no, you won't.
Right.
No.
That's right.
And that's your old money. That's your old money mindset that says, oh, well, 10% sounds good because part of you in that money mindset doesn't believe that you deserve to really be rich.
Yes.
Or
we're addicted to the struggle. right?
Or it has to be exactly. I have talked to successful people. Now I'm talking about successful people, high 6, 7-figure people. That's very successful in our society. And yet they're still struggling. They're still miserable. They still feel like they can't really get what they want. And the truth is they can't, as long as they keep a mindset of a little 5-year-old that says you have to struggle for everything you get, because back then, for you to get something, maybe your parents made you struggle. I grew up in a household where, being as the only child, the upside if you're poor is that you get to go to college. The downside is you have every chore. Right?
But good work ethic, JV.
Good. Oh my God, I had great work ethic. I couldn't even eat breakfast if I didn't make my bed.
Yes.
And we had an acre out, and I was the one who had to mow it. At the age of 8, this is worth, because you think about how things program you, and you could go multiple ways. At the age of 8, I had to make my bed, help clean the house, wash both of the cars, mow the lawn. And my parents announced and sat me down like they were doing me some huge benefit, and told me I was going to get an allowance. A dime.
A dime.
No, I kid you not. And it was that night that I kind of sat down and realized that I was in the role of indentured servitude, and that I did not like this role, but I was aware that I needed a place to live and I needed food, right? So I couldn't just leave. I did contemplate that, but I wasn't sure where I'd go. So I said, you better stay here. So you know what I did? The next day I start going around to the entire people, 200-300 people. That's still a lot of lawns. And I was the only little kid who figured this out, and I became the lawnmower guy.
Yeah.
And I didn't charge less than $1. I was getting a dime for our acre, but I was charging $1 to $5, which was actually a fair amount of money then. And I just said, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to get paid, because I got this indentured servitude gig I'm doing that I can't get out of. But I'm not, so that was, again, I could have just stayed and said, okay, that's good.
Not a dime. You're right.
Right. So I want you to ask yourself, when something happens and you have your business, and I'm going to tell you the number one way to make more money, just skip to it. Charge higher prices. That is it. Right. It's the bottom line. But you cannot charge higher prices till you decide you're worth it.
Yes.
You can't do it. You won't be able to sell it. I just created a program. I have a sales coach right now. I just created a high-end coaching program. I'm proud to announce it, because we looked at and I just said, well, might as well charge what I want. I don't have the clients now anyway.
Right.
So we made it $250,000 to $1 million to work with me in this high-end coaching program.
That's awesome.
And the high-end is a billionaire, and I already know who they are. And I go, I am certain if they pay me $1 million, they're going to get at least 50 million and probably 100 million. And I'm going, this is a pretty good deal.
Yes, exactly. I love it. So much of what you're speaking of, it seems simple, right? It's simple in theory, but it's not simple in implementation. It's like anything, like losing weight, eating right, detoxing. We were talking about that in the green room. The things, they sound simple, but to implement them take discipline, take practice. And I see so many people struggling because of the pandemic and the economic crisis. And there's always a crisis, right? There's always something.
We're going to have a recession, folks. Let's not play around with it. Are you prepared for the recession? And the best way to prepare for it is to prepare your mind to not stay the same, but double your business during a recession. Because when you double your business during a recession, imagine what you can do 2 years from now when that's all over.
Exactly. So what is your secret sauce to staying in action and growing? So give us, you said you had 7, but give us a couple of the mindset. If you want all 7, we'll give you those later, but give us a couple.
Yeah. So I've talked about 3 of them. Actually, I've talked about abundance, which is where most people start and end on mindset. It's because abundance is about beliefs. And I've talked about identity, shifting your identity, and possibility, what's possible for you and what's possible in the world. But the one that really brings together the work that you and I do, Susie, is the 4th one, and that's having a visionary money mindset. And the visionary money mindset is when you identify what is that purpose you're on the planet to achieve, And how are you going to bring that into your business to make a bigger and bigger impact? Because actually, when you're on a mission-driven pathway, the biggest money you're ever going to make is by making a bigger impact. So it's expanding your vision about what's possible for you, right? And we were talking right before this in the green room about the metaverse. So I'm now doing a training myself that I'm participating in that's in the metaverse. I have a global nonprofit. I've done work in 10 countries training 18 to 25-year-olds to become conscious leaders, to answer one question: how do we create a world where everyone can win? So my target now is to be in 100 countries. But until I started studying the metaverse, so this is all part about getting a bigger vision, I'm thinking I got to go to 100 countries and build physical buildings. And now I'm going, no, you buy one little piece of property in the metaverse, you build a building there, which is like a real fraction of one of them, and you distribute classes to all these 18 to 25-year-olds in 100 countries, and you do the training in the metaverse and have iBots translate it into different languages. Now, that's about getting a bigger vision. Now, if that's something you're doing with your business as well, because you could have a bigger vision about how you're going to be international, but you don't have to go anywhere. That's about expanding your money mindset about what's possible. The bigger your vision, the more money that's possible.
I love that. So let's talk about when the universe kicked you in the face, right? We call them life lessons. Some people call them failures. I call them learning lessons. Let's talk about what's been your biggest learning lesson, failure, and then what do you personally learn from it?
Yeah. So first of all, I've had several. Yes, this was not the perfect journey. I didn't get on a rocket and it just went straight up. I'm going to go back to when I was 26.
Okay.
Because at 25, I became a millionaire, bought the 4-story home on the water, got the Mercedes when that was actually a big deal because not too many people had one. And in about 3 months, I was standing in my living room one day looking out, and I realized at the sailboats, and I realized something was very wrong with this story. And what was wrong was that I was miserable. And I go, well, what the bleep? I got the house, I got the nice stuff, I got the Mercedes. And I realized that I didn't have any purpose in my life. Well, if that wasn't a whammy enough, I just bought the house. We go into a deep recession. And the recession was so deep that I had to find a course of action. And I coined a phrase. So here I am, a millionaire, but I go through the money really quickly because we had a lot of cash reserves. But in a recession, folks, you can go through a lot of money, especially if you have 50 trucks that you own, trucking units, and you have a regional trucking line because you got payments on all this stuff.
Yes.
Right. And so first I told myself there's no shame in being broke. Now, this is the guy who just got the house. Right. Came from the struggling background. And I said, what am I going to do about this? And this is about having a resourceful mindset. I said, well, the banks don't want any of this equipment and I can't pay for it. So maybe there's a solution that we can come up with. So I went to see the bank and I said, here's the deal. You want my equipment? Because I already knew the answer to that one. I said, well, okay. Well, we'd like to keep using it, but I can't make the payments. How can we work this out? And we worked out a deal where I only paid interest, which was a small part of the payment, because these were capital payments that were like 48 months long, right? So most of the payment was principal, and there was a lot of it. And I just paid, the interest. And I said, well, if that worked, I'll go see my tarp people, because we had tarps on each of our trees. And I owed them money as well. And I told them, I said, I can't pay you because of this recession. So they were probably happy. At least I came and told them, because probably nobody else was paying them either. Everybody else in the same boat. At least I had the integrity come see them. And I said, and by the way, if you don't keep giving us tarps, we'll go out of business. I'll never be able to pay you. So I got them to keep giving us tarps for a couple of years. Oh, yes. I said, well, this is working. I'll go to the tire people. Now, if you own a trucking line, tires are a big expense. Yeah, you're buying a lot of tires. And I told them the same story, and they agreed that I'd keep getting tires and I'd be able to pay them when I could pay them. And I said, and I did, by the way, pay everybody. It took about 2 years.
Yeah.
Everybody got paid every penny.
Yeah.
The bank got paid, TARPs got paid, but I had to figure out how to make it. And that's part of a money mindset, because you can either roll over and say the problem's too big, or you can say, I'm going to the other side, and it's not, I'm interested in how to get there, or it's not, I'm going to try to get there, because I admonish people for those.
Yes.
I must get there. I must get to the other side. Now, if you must get to the other side, you will figure out a way. I guarantee it.
Yeah, I always say people have a back door, right? There's always an exit strategy. They're going to file bankruptcy. They're just
and that's why I don't even let my clients have goals. I only let them have commitments.
Yes, that's
because I have found that people achieve commitments.
Yes,
but very few people, including myself, achieve goals.
Right. I love that. So let's talk about, because you've had many different businesses, and your wealth has been all over the place. So let's talk about what's JV's wealth strategies. What are you doing to build your wealth and to continue to accumulate?
Yeah. So I'm not going to give you prices, because I don't want to give you investment advice, but I will tell you where I'm investing now. As we're recording this, we're headed into a global recession.
Yes.
Now, I've been through several of these, and what I have learned is when a global recession occurs, and usually it's global these days because we're so interconnected, and it doesn't help that we're having a Ukrainian war, because that's creating all kinds of supply chain issues that make it worse. The world goes on sale.
Yes.
And there are two kinds of people. There are people who run and get scared and make up some ridiculous story that the world is coming to an end. No, the world's just going to be bad for a year or so.
Right.
It's going to be bad for a year or so. And in 2 years, you'll not even know you had a recession.
Yes.
Right. That's been my experience. So the world's going on sale. So you got to look at the assets, that the assets themselves didn't change in terms of their intrinsic value in the future, or the reason you'd want to own them. So one of the stocks that I call blue chip that I'm buying, I buy with limit orders because I get a really good idea of where it's at, but it's below where it is now. And I go, but 5 years from now, am I going to be happy I own Apple and I bought it at a good discount? Mm-hmm. Answer, yes.
Yes.
Answer, yes. Same thing with Tesla. I've got to buy in very steep discount, but it's a high beta stock. But I'm going 5 years from now, be glad about that.
Yes.
I'm buying the NASDAQ 100 because that's the companies that are really grow. But before we get through, the NASDAQ could be 40, 50% off its all-time high. Is that a great time to buy the NASDAQ? Absolutely. That's the safe money, right? But then I'm putting half of my investments, I'm not advising, it may not be right for you, and I do call it high risk. But I'm okay with high risk. I can go to bed at night and something I own is worth 30% less. I can sleep, but not everybody can do that.
Right.
It took me a while to be able to do that. And we just go, do you believe in the future? Fine. So I'm putting the other half into crypto, and especially Bitcoin, because I think that my opinion is that's going to become the reserve currency of the world. And it's not that long, maybe 7 years, 5-7 years from now. Right. And so I'm willing to take that risk, because even though it is certainly high risk on paper, I believe in the future enough that I'm going, yep, I'm good. Yeah. I can sleep at night. If I buy it and it goes down another 50%, I don't care. In fact, it's the only asset that I've ever looked at and said, wow, I hope it goes down more after I buy it so I can buy some more at a cheaper price.
Right.
But that's how I'm looking at wealth building. But the most important part of that isn't, the assets could change, but it's that I'm only buying something that I'm going to hold for at least 5 to 10 years. So where people lose money is they try to make money in 3 months in a stock or 6 months. This is not what the stock market is about. Right. You want to buy, on the one hand, I'm buying very good quality, right? Apple, that is the most blue chip you can get. And yet it's a great growth stock, right? NASDAQ 100, that's where the growth's going to happen. But on those particular ones, like the NASDAQ 100, that's a 10-year hold for me. So I think that's where people go wrong is they don't have a good wealth strategy. It's like I once had somebody contact me. And to give you the scenario, they had 50,000 in total assets. Okay. And they said, I want to be a millionaire in 4 months. Now, I'm a very honest guy, right? I write it back and I say, I can't do that.
Right.
If I said, if I could do that, I'd already be a billionaire at the rate of return, right? I go, now, can it happen? Yes, but it's an outlier event. And if something's a big outlier event, you can't create a predictable path to create it because it's just a series of happen chances that came together, right? And so he almost accused me of being a fraud. He says, well, I read this on some other's website. And I said, great, go back to that website because they clearly know how to do something I do not know how to do.
Right.
And I got to tell you the truth. I don't know a predictable pathway from 50,000 to 1 million in 4 months.
Yeah.
Right. But I'm using that as an example because that's about mindset. The mindset is actually a scarcity mindset because it's like you're saying, well, I can't take the path to abundance. It's got to happen like magic because otherwise it won't happen anyway. And it's like, no, the path to abundance, can you get there? Yeah. It'll take several years to get there. And then it depends on how driven you are and the strategies you choose and the mindset that you hold. Can you get there? Yes, but not in 4 months. And so wealth is built over time.
Yeah, and a long-term strategy, right?
Wealth is always, if it's real estate you want to buy, my prediction is average residential home in this country in 2023 will be 20-30% cheaper than it is today.
Yes.
Right? So that could be a good entry point if real estate's what you want to do, but not if you want to sell it just in I got to flip it in a year. Can you? Yes. But the real money is the 10-year money.
Yeah. Long-term.
It's long-term.
I love that. I love just the transparency and authenticity, willing to say no. We always say all money's not good money. That was not good money.
No.
To promise somebody to take your money, to promise the moon that you can't deliver. Right. I love your integrity, JV. That's huge. So what do you want to be remembered for? What does JV want to be remembered for?
That's a great question because it's the question I ask on my show. I've asked it over 3,000 times. I want to be remembered for the impact I've made, and not the impact that I made, but the impact I made through others, through training entrepreneurs and training these young leaders to go change the world, and entrepreneurs that you can go out there and yes, you can become rich changing the world. Because for me to be a tidal wave, I've got to have a lot of people who are out there creating waves. And that's how it all comes together. And then you have a tsunami.
Yes.
But it's working with people who are driven, giving them pathways to change how we make money, what it's all about, that it's done on abundance and it's done by uplifting humanity. And we don't create products and services unless they make a positive impact. There's no reason for that. And then helping the 18 to 25-year-olds become the next leaders of the world who have a conscious focus about humanity and everyone winning together. That's what I want to be remembered for.
I love that. That's a good one. So we do have a prize for him. So do you want to share where
sure,
we can get the
absolutely.
prize?
So
we love giving you tools and resources.
This is a great tool. It's one of on my own show. It's one of the favorite things that people like to get free. So I'm trained in Ericksonian hypnosis, and I bring that into, what I do is help people create a limitless mindset. So I have an hypnotic audio for you. It's very short. It's 6 minutes. I've learned that the shorter I make them, actually, the more impactful they are.
Yes.
And I'm going to tell you how to use it to get maximum results. It's called Born to Make Millions. Now, I guess I should give you a warning. If after listening to Susie and I now, you're convinced you'd actually rather stay poor, or maybe you'd like to lose the money you already have, this is not going to help you at all. This will only help you if you want to make more money. So if you're in that category, this is good for you. And here's the link where you can go get it, consciousmillionaire.com/make millions. So consciousmillionaire.com/make millions. And here's my suggestion. that you listen to it in the morning and you listen to it in the PM, sometime afternoon, evening, for 30 days. And then each day, one time a day for 5 minutes, journal. And every statement you make, you start it with, I was born to make millions because. And don't worry your mind about what you're going to say. Something will come. And it doesn't matter if it even sounds ridiculous, because I like to go to the beach.
Right.
Because I love my mother.
Yes.
Whatever. Because after 30 days, you will have told your mind so many reasons that you were in fact born to make millions. And after listening to this audio twice a day for 30 days, you will, I guarantee you, have a shift in how you see yourself and how you see your future.
I love that. So I am excited. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being our guest. And so the link will be in the show notes as well. If you were listening while you're driving or working out, whatever you were doing your yard work, enjoying the sun, come back, look at the show notes so that you can get JV's Millionaire Mindset and our meditation. I'm going to take it on because I love this conversation.
Thank you. And thank you so much for having me.
Yes.
And I just want to say directly to you, if you're listening to Susie, she's a friend of mine. She's a great person. I know her work is quality and you're in the right place. And it's just my honor to be able to be here today with you.
Thank you, JV. I appreciate you. Have a blessed day. So thank you for listening to this edition of Power Your Profit Podcast. Make sure you like and share this with people that need this conversation. The more your community stays together, stands together, works together we can make a profound difference in the world. I'm your host, Susie Carder. And until next time, make sure that you're living your dreams and remember, wealth is your birthright.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Power Your Profits Podcast. Let these building blocks from today's most successful industry leaders equip you with the necessary resources and tools to finally establish the highly profitable business of your dreams. Want to hear more? Listen to more episodes at https://poweryourprofitspodcast.com. And don't forget to subscribe to the show. Now is your time to rise to the top of your game, so be sure to catch our next episode. Until next time.